Once upon a time, in a lush meadow surrounded by tall trees, there lived a swift and energetic rabbit named Benny. Benny was known throughout the meadow for his speed, always racing from one end of the field to the other. His long ears flapping in the wind as he darted through the grass. Life for Benny was one big adventure. He never stayed in one place too long and loved exploring every corner of the meadow. Not far from where Benny made his burrow, there lived a small mouse named Milo. Milo was quite different from Benny. While Benny loved excitement, Milo preferred a quiet and thoughtful life. He was a thinker, always solving little puzzles or devising clever ways to gather food. Although Milo wasn't fast or particularly brave, he was incredibly resourceful. Despite living in the same meadow, Benny and Milo rarely interacted. Benny was always too busy running, while Milo spent his days tucked away in his cozy little nook under a tree, studying the world from a distance. However, fate had a different plan for them. One sunny afternoon, after a heavy rainstorm had passed, Benny was out running as usual. The rain had left the meadow soaked, and there were puddles everywhere, but that didn't bother Benny. He loved the feeling of the cool mud under his feet as he ran, zigzagging through the grass. However, in his excitement, he failed to notice a large, muddy hole left by the rain, hidden beneath some fallen branches. As he sprinted past, his foot slipped, and he tumbled headfirst into the hole. The hole was much deeper than Benny had expected. He tried to jump out, but the muddy walls were too slippery, and every attempt to climb out ended with him sliding back down into the mud. Frustrated and exhausted, Benny realized he was stuck. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. He had always relied on his speed, but here, in this hole, speed wouldn't help him. Benny shouted for help, but the meadow was quiet. After what felt like hours, he heard a faint rustling sound. Peering up from the bottom of the hole, he saw a tiny pair of eyes looking down at him. "Milo," Benny exclaimed. "Thank goodness you're here. I'm stuck, and I can't get out." Milo, being the curious mouse that he was, had heard Benny's cries while foraging and followed the sound until he found the rabbit trapped in the hole. He looked around thoughtfully, assessing the situation. "Benny, how did you manage to get yourself into this mess?" Milo asked, a slight smile on his face. "I wasn't paying attention," Benny admitted, feeling a little embarrassed. "Can you help me get out?" Milo thought for a moment. He wasn't strong enough to pull Benny out himself, but he knew he could come up with a plan. "Don't worry, Benny," Milo said confidently. "I've got an idea. I'll be right back." Milo scurried off into the tall grass. Benny waited anxiously, unsure of what Milo could possibly do to help him. After a short while, Milo returned, dragging a long vine behind him. It was wrapped around a small branch. "What's that for?" Benny asked, his curiosity piqued. "I'm going to lower this vine down to you," Milo explained. "You can use it to pull yourself up. The branch will act as an anchor to keep the vine steady." Benny's ears perked up. "That might just work," he said excitedly. Milo carefully tied the vine to a sturdy tree root near the edge of the hole, and then tossed the other end down to Benny. Benny grabbed the vine tightly with his paws and, using all his strength, began to pull himself up. Milo watched from the edge, his small hands holding the vine taut to keep it steady. It wasn't easy for Benny. His paws slipped a few times and the mud made it hard to get a grip. But with Milo's encouragement and the support of the vine, Benny slowly but surely made his way up. Finally, with one last pull, Benny leaped out of the hole and landed safely on the grass. "Phew," Benny exclaimed, shaking off the mud. "I couldn't have done that without you." Milo smiled modestly. "It's all about using your brain sometimes," he said. "Speed and strength aren't everything, you know." Benny looked at Milo with newfound respect. "You're right," he admitted. "I always thought being fast was the best thing, but you really saved the day." From that day forward, Benny and Milo became fast friends. Benny learned to appreciate the value of thinking things through, while Milo enjoyed a few more adventures, tagging along with Benny as they explored the meadow together. The two made an unlikely but perfect team, showing that brains and brawn, when combined, could conquer any challenge.